She shuffled off to the kitchen, and the bearded man listened with interest to sounds that suggested a bustle of activity. Water gushing to fill a kettle, which was placed on the stove with a clatter. The whistle increasing in intensity as steam rushed to escape the spout. The creak of an oven door, and all the while the sound of voices. Not just one, chattering away to itself, as so many of the oddly folk he dropped in on did, but voices, plural. It sounded like she was having a conversation. And perhaps he wasn't the only visitor. Or maybe it was just the radio. He shrugged it off as she reappeared, carrying a tray with unsteady hands and placing it on a table beside a small, almost forlorn-looking Christmas tree. She spotted him looking at it, a sad expression on his face. Aye, it's not much, but it feels a bit silly to make a big fuss about Christmas at my time of life. I've not been to church since Ernest was about, and I'm not expecting any visitors on the big day. There's only me and Billy left. Was that Billy you were speaking to just now? The visitor smiled appreciatively as Nancy handed him a pale-looking cup of tea. Don't be daft. Billy lives in London. I don't hear from him half as much since he started seeing that lass. These last words were delivered with evident difficulty as she lowered herself into a pea-green armchair. Is your arthritis troubling you again? She carried on as though she hadn't heard him. That law school's been nowt but trouble. I says to him, there's no shame in being a greengrocer. It were good enough for your dad, and it were good enough for his dad, my Ernest. But he was having none of it. It was carrying all them heavy sacks around that finished Dad off, he says. The bearded man sipped at his brew. I still remember the funeral. Awful business. The tea was oddly sour, the rusty brown stain on the inside of the mug darker than the drink itself. But he tried to sound appreciative nonetheless. He said, not particularly convincingly. Aye, one boy taken from me, and now his offspring's done a runner. Still, can't say I blame him. He took it hard, and that mother of his is a rum do. Billy still calls, not as often, but once a week, more or less. I'll tell you what, you won't find a prouder grandma this side of the Pennines. She looked wistful. Frank Sinatra was singing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas on the radio, and the bearded man wondered if it was bringing back memories. The house full of food and laughter, little feet pattering about excitedly on Christmas morning. You must miss your family. He clutched at his tea tightly to restore a bit of warmth to his fingers, aware that his breath was misting in front of him, like a little cloud every time he breathed out. Nancy made no show of noticing how cold the house was. She was wrapped up in half a dozen cardigans, which made her torso look disproportionately plump on top of her tiny legs, like a robin.